really want to focus on. That is the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority. We did get some news in the last few weeks. This is one of the bonds pricing, of course, at 98 cents on the dollar. We were falling, really trading to about 50 cents on the dollar. You had them default, and then, of course, you had Hurricane Maria when they were trading at about 20 cents on the dollar. But look at this rebound. Finally, an increase here. This is as creditors came to an early agreement, really hoping on some privatization of these bonds, maybe extract some more efficiencies relative to the public sector. So PREPA and these Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority bonds certainly here in focus. Scarlett?
Thank you so much for that setup. Taylor Riggs with a check on munis. And of course, privatization is one of the many topics we'll be discussing, because sticking with Puerto Rico, we want to welcome the governor of the U.S. territory, Ricardo Rosselló. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you for the opportunity. Excited to be here.
So there's a lot of fundraising to rebuild Puerto Rico, a lot of it high profile. I think of Hamilton, for instance.
Yes.
But overall, are you getting recovery funding as quickly as you to, especially for the major infrastructure projects?
That has been a little bit of the slowdown. Of course, recovery is sort of segmented into different tranches. FEMA recovery funding has been slow. We feel optimistic that HUD or CDBG-DR funding is right on track. And the important thing is that we get the opportunity to use those resources not only to build back what was there, but to harden infrastructure and to rebuild better, more resilient. So we've laid out a path forward. I think we have the framework for a very transparent transformation and a very effective one. So we're optimistic that as these funds will come in, we'll be able to rebuild Puerto Rico.
What's your number one priority when it comes to the infrastructure you're looking at?
I think energy is critical. It demonstrated to be the linchpin of everything else in society. So we want to go from one of the worst energy grids in the region to possibly being a model. That is why we've passed two bills. One, a transactional bill so that we can have private partners come in, do the transmission and distribution, some generation as well, but also a policy bill that establishes where we want to be in the next 5 years and where do we want to be by 2050. So I think it puts us in a strong position. A lot of things are moving along, both with renegotiation with bondholders and structural changes. We're changing, expensive generation from diesel to gas. We're opening up to renewables in a very exciting fashion. So it is what we're trying to drive right there in Puerto Rico.
Let's get specific here, because in March, Bloomberg reported that the only hospital serving the isolated island of Vieques was out of operation because it was awaiting recovery funds. Today, you had a group of senators and members of the House led by Senator Warren writing to the acting administrator of FEMA asking for answers, seeking an update. What's the latest on that?
Well, it's an important question. We've been working on that particular project for a while, and it becomes sort of an example of everything else that's going on in the island as well. In the onset, it was determined that this hospital was too damaged to be rebuilt. We have to build a new one. That's because it had mold and fungus and so forth. So it really was better to rebuild one. As the damage assessment was being done, some point in the 11th hour, it was sort of turned back to a rebuild effort. I think we need to look at this very carefully, because rebuilding a structure that's already sick and isn't serving its people well, it's not going to do much good. It's an opportunity to rebuild a very a modern and functioning hospital for the people of Vieques.
We have those seen through that letter, Democrat support for what is happening with Puerto Rico and wanting to get funds there sooner. How concerned, how let down do you feel by the administration, or do you feel that you're making progress? Well,
it is concerning. It is concerning in particular when we hear statements such as the ones that the president has made, that $91 billion have arrived to the island, when in fact we have disbursed $5.7 billion, and in total FEMA claims to have disbursed somewhere around $12 billion. So the process has been very slow, and the reason is Puerto Rico is treated differently. The truth of the matter is Puerto Rico is a territory, not a state. So the mechanisms that were imposed in Puerto Rico for disbursement of the funds were different to states. To give you a quick technical example, states can disburse once they do the damage assessment. In Puerto Rico, FEMA is the one that has the power. Now, what's the net effect of that? The net effect is that permanent work money has been very, very slow in Puerto Rico. So much so that by this time, after Katrina in Louisiana, for every project you have in Puerto Rico right now, you would have 32 in Katrina. And similarly, in Texas, after Harvey, for every project you had in Puerto Rico, you have 28 over there. So there is a significant difference. There is a significant slowdown. And our petition is, look, we're U.S. citizens. We went through the biggest devastation in the modern history of Puerto Rico. We're not asking for more. We're just asking for what's fair. And I think that the bill that just came out of the House answers some of our concerns and allow this process to move forward.
And of course, part of this comes in the answer of public-private partnerships.
Yes.
Long before Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico was trying to break out of this decades-long recession, and you're looking to opportunity zones, for instance, and these public-private partnerships to get things going. Where in the investment community are you seeing the most interest?
Well, we just recently, yesterday, we had an opportunity zones gathering. We're seeing interest on real estate, on tourism, manufacturing. You know, the opportunities are endless. So a lot of folks are going into Puerto Rico, and here's the unique opportunity that we have. Number one, we have what we feel is the gold standard public-private partnership law in the United States. We have the most aggressive pipeline right now. We have 10 projects, public-private partnership projects that are moving forward. On top of that, we're getting rebuild money so that we're going to be able to leverage some of those funds for these efforts. And we have opportunity zones, and yesterday I signed a bill that makes Puerto Rico the most competitive jurisdiction for opportunity zones. We have the most breadth, 97% of the island qualifies for opportunity zone. So you're looking at investors probably getting a return on investment of 250% from their investment here in Puerto Rico. We need the rebuild. We want to get all stakeholders involved, and with this unique opportunity of federal funds coming in and private stakeholder interest with the opportunity zones, it's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to put Puerto Rico over the hump.
Ricardo Rosselló, I wish we had more time with you. Thank you for giving some of it to us today, of course, as he visits New York, the governor of Puerto Rico. Coming up, caution lights ahead. One Wall Street analyst cutting delivery estimates for all Tesla models as production woes grow. That's ahead.